Greetings, RTT teachers. It's a pleasure to bring you this videocast in the series of videocasts that Nipa and I have been doing together to share our thoughts and to particularly address the process of observing a classroom and being the teacher being observed. So far, we've talked about the benefits of the observation process, the format of the process, and even best practices that the observer and the teacher must follow. Please pay attention to these previous videocasts because they will be giving you a lot of insights into the process as well as preparing for being observed or observing, and very specific tools. And the value of having videocasts is that you can go over them again and again anytime you want through our Facebook group or the YouTube channel. I was talking to Dr. Nipa after the last phase in Ladakh and sharing some ideas and insights about her experience. And while she was doing that, it occurred to me that it is valuable to talk about the values. So it is values are valuable. By values, I mean what is important, what is really what needs to be given attention, and what needs to be paid a lot of respect in the observation process, right? So when we talk about values, they are rules and principles and beliefs that we live by. And when it comes to evaluations, that is when values also become very important. Any assessment, any evaluation should have a strong set of principles and values underlying and guiding the process. So when you are the observer, let's think of what values do you bring to the process. And similarly, when you're the teacher, what values you bring to the process. We've understood that classroom observations are a very beneficial way to grow in your profession as a teacher. We agree on the process where teachers and observers collaborate to understand what is being observed and how the teacher can benefit from the process. When we talk about values, we talk about a few things. One is really understanding the role of the observer and the teacher, because those are two separate positions. One is receiving, one is giving. Next, we must think of what is it that the teacher is seeking and what is it that the observer is seeking. After all, this is a growth process. So the first thing is the role, and the second is what the teacher and observer are looking for in a way that you can create a win-win situation. So mutual benefit is a value. Respect is a value. Providing the full attention and focus is a third value. We may call it full potential. So providing your best in the process is the third value. What does that mean? So when you are the observer, you want to make sure that you're fully prepared by understanding what the teacher would like to work on. What would they like your feedback on? Second, by understanding what the classroom lesson is going to look like. And if you have any questions, by finding out from the teacher if anything is unclear before you go in. That mutual respect is really important. Don't go half-baked. Make sure you are fully aware of what is happening and fully present. When you're fully aware, fully present, and you give back fully, that is when the full potential of any situation is realized. As a teacher, think of full potential as delivery. And this is your invitation as a teacher who is being observed to start practicing the same amount of preparation and performance when you are being observed in every lesson that you teach. So, full potential not only means preparing thoroughly for your observation lesson, engaging carefully and deeply with the observer in finding out what went well, what can be improved, taking the feedback objectively and thinking about it, and finally, thinking about how can this become an efficient and ongoing process for you where every lesson gets that amount of preparation and attention from you, every lesson you teach. So, full potential is another value that I want to bring to you. Finally, full potential also allows for commitment. So, commitment means when you are the observer, you show up on time, you provide your full attention during the process, and when you're giving feedback, you are well prepared and fully present. Similarly, for the teacher, commitment is to quality of your teaching and to how you take advantage of the observer's feedback. Hence, for any work we do, especially as teachers and observers in education, in the role of an educator, requires a good, thorough understanding of values. Right? We are all guided by certain principles and values. I will always do this, I will not do that. And I value certain things like integrity, clarity, like I said, full potential, full commitment, and understanding. So please think of values very carefully because they apply deeply to the observation process as well. Finally, I'd like to share that this is a process that is continuously evolving. So as you get more and more established in thinking about how observations work, in learning about how observations work from our videocasts, and then actually experiencing an observation process, also think of the role, think of what identity you take on as a teacher. And that is clear, you all have your teaching identity, but also as a teacher being observed, right? That is a separate identity because now in your thinking mind, you have the information that, oh, in this lesson, I'm going to be observed and things will change. They will shift. The way you teach will change. And maybe that is the first impression, the first reaction that happens when you get observed the very first time. But slowly, there should be a coming together, a blending of your role as a teacher and a teacher being observed. It's all the same, no matter what, every day when you're in the classroom, whether you're being observed or not, you are the same teacher. So clarifying that in your mind as your teaching identity, as you go through the observation process, is something you should be thinking about. And I highly recommend you to talk about it with your colleagues as well. What happens when you are being observed? You get a little nervous. Sometimes you get a little extra performance. You give a little performance, which doesn't usually happen during your daily lessons. Many things can happen when you know that that you have an audience. So think of your role and your identity as a teacher and a teacher being observed. On the other side, think of your identity as an observer. And what does that happen? It's a power position, right? Now you get to go in somebody's classroom and give them your wisdom. So please take that role and identity with a lot of honesty and respect because sharing wisdom comes with responsibility. Responsibility of being transparent, of being humble, and of being truthful. So don't let your own issues around teaching or own challenges about teaching become a problem or a topic that you project on the teacher you're observing. Very objective observation is important in the role of an observer without letting your own beliefs and judgments affect how you give feedback. Think about this very carefully. Another thing in the identity of an observer to think about is the fact that you are also a teacher. While you are in the observer position right now, remember that you're always a teacher first, and you will also be observed someday. So before you get into the shoes of an observer, come with that humility, with that honesty, that while you have the power to give feedback in this situation, you are always a teacher and you are helping a colleague grow. And in fact, the bigger growth opportunity is for you as you observe another teacher teach. You will also learn a lot about yourself and about your teaching. So, all this comes together as a possibility of tremendous professional growth. The roles and identities that you have during the observation process and the values that you work with are your basis for creating an ongoing growth path as a teaching professional. And why is growth important? I'm asking a redundant question. Everything grows. And to participate in growth is the only way to live. That is what I believe. That is what I value. And I hope that with these ideas, I have tickled some thoughts in you around what you are carrying abstract in an abstract way into the observation process. So far, we've given you a lot of tools and techniques and ideas that will help you design the observation process. In this videocast, we've talked about something deeper. So if you need to listen to this podcast one more time, please go ahead and do that. And please build your own best practice around the observation process as you continue to explore. You always start somewhere, and always with inquiry, you start building a practice that benefits you and the teacher. So, a couple of other suggestions I have are creating a resource bank of materials, of the feedback you have given and received, of sample lesson plans, any ideas and tools or materials that you may have received or that you have designed in order to facilitate the observation process. Your notes, the conversations that you have had, please summarize them and note them, because somewhere along the way in your career, these ideas will feed into the improvement of your teaching process, whether you are an observer or a teacher. And the last final thing I highly recommend is if you've had an observation where you really connected with the teacher, and maybe you've known this teacher, maybe you're friends already from working together, make them your growth buddy. I like to have a growth buddy and sometimes several growth buddies who I can talk about my learning, my challenges, my questions with. And this, I feel, this community, this support system is a final lid to this conversation, is a final cherry on top of this dessert that I'm serving to you today in the form of values and roles that you need to understand as an observer and as a teacher. I wish you the very best. Don't wait a second to get into an observation and finding a colleague to help you with it. The more you try and experience an observation, the more beneficial it will be for both of you, for the observer and for the teacher. Wish you all the best and really get into your process as soon as you can. Thank you.